I started Reborn with a simple vision in mind. I wanted clothing everywhere to get out of the backs of closets and back to being used. But what I didn't realize at the time is how many large closets there are in the world. Textile waste is truly a universal problem that haunts consumers, brands, and universities of all sizes. On a global scale, we generate roughly 92 million tons of waste annually, a number that's expected to increase by over 60% between now and 2030. But the problem isn't the usability of this so-called waste that's ending up in our landfills. In fact, 95% of all textile waste that ends up in landfills today could be reused or recycled. So then we have to look deeper into the industry at these deep-rooted problems to figure out why this avoidable problem is happening at such an alarmingly increasing rate. Well, brands and universities are constrained by branding and licensing regulations. The last thing they want is for their brand image they've worked so hard to build up to be tainted by their clothing or secondhands or overruns ending up in the secondhand market or going to waste. Then consumers too are confined by sentimental attachment. Think about the clothing that your kids grew up in, or your old college t-shirts, or maybe even clothing from a recently deceased family member. The fact is that there's not currently a viable solution on the marketplace that fits all of these needs. Reborn is setting out to change just that. For a problem of this scale and with so many different facets, you can't have a one-size-fits-all solution. Instead, we've created different services that we roll out across several key markets that have these major issues facing them. Upcycling, I like to call the new recycling. With this model, we're able to preserve the original value of the garment while avoiding manufacturing processes that are harmful to the environment. As we've continued to grow in brand value, we also realized that everyone wanted to be a part of the solution, even if they themselves didn't have textile waste. So now we offer standard stock options to wholesale retailers and also to consumers to continue to grow brands so that everyone can purchase Reborn. And finally, we've partnered with the largest downcycling manufacturer in the US so that to all of our clients, we can offer downcycling needs for the smallest piece of scrap material or the most brand sensitive or proprietary material. Our process doesn't change channel to channel, but we did realize that with targeted marketing and a clear message, we're able to actually reap even more value from each channel, which ultimately makes this a billion-dollar idea. Our main company, Reborn, which is really this parent company that imports textile waste, has a monthly or quarterly recurring revenue model in which we collect and sort textile waste with major global brands, figuring out what's usable and what's not, and then downcycling or upcycling and adding that on top of it. And then finally, we have Reborn Closet, which is really the rebranded return to our roots and how I started Reborn when I was only 19. For this model, consumers right now, only in the US, but plans to expand that, can choose from one of 6 product templates on our website. It might be a memory blanket or a dog bandana or a body pillow. They send in their clothing, and within a 2-week window of time, we make it into that product and ship it back to them. With any good idea, you need a good team to execute, and I know that probably better than anyone else. From marketing to sales to our CFO to our product and design team, we are attracting top talent from this industry. We estimate that we can target about an $80 million market potential in the college and university space in the US alone. This plays into several major retailers, including Barnes & Noble and Follett, which each own about 1,000 bookstores in the US. Not to mention growing internet retailers like Fanatics, which had 2 acquisitions this past year and is well on their way to an IPO. Again, Reborn U has clear branding, and if I can say so myself, I think the products look even better than those made from virgin materials. Our pricing is competitive to brands like Nike and Adidas because we're able to use this free material provided to us as part of an order. You can imagine that every single product category offers a substantial revenue opportunity for Reborn. I use global handbags as just one example. And I use Vera Bradley as a comparative company who only does totes and duffel bags and who did over $450 million in fiscal year 2018. Here's just some of our direct-to-consumer and wholesale product-facing categories. The beauty about Reborn too is that we're not tied to a specific product. So while last year our Scrunchy Trio Packs may have been one of our top-selling products, next year it could be dog beds playing into the pet space or upcycled denim jackets with Levi's or Wrangler. Reborn Closet 2 continues to grow, and we have plans to expand to the European market by 2022. My current seed investment round targets $700,000, of which we've already closed $500,000 on a $4 million pre-money valuation. On a high level, our use of funds targets infrastructure and marketing. To date, we've done most of what I've talked about on little to no marketing budget. But brand is really important, in the fashion space especially. While we do have exclusive multi-year agreements with our partner brands and with universities, it's even more important that we capture the consumer's attention, and of course that has to continue to be captured over time, nurtured and funneled through the sales cycle. But as you can see, our hires are also extremely important, as I believe that people are what separates good from the great companies. And so we're targeting hires in design, operations, sales to manage our growing sales teams, and then also partnering with a globally recognized agency for paid advertising and public relations. Looking at our financials, they are aggressive, but that's what funding is for. This past year we did around $250,000 in sales, but we are on track to hit $3.25 million with POs already booked and with this closing of our seed investment round. You can also see that by 2024, we're targeting a $16 million net operating income, which would put us ripe for an exit with a very favorable return of investment for our investors. Again, looking at the college and university market, we expand by increasing our number of wholesale accounts, which is roughly 3 to 5 per university, then also increasing our average order size over time. Reborn is well poised for an exit in the next 4 to 6 years, which will propel the portfolio or parent company into this new age of sustainable fashion and textiles and launch them into the next generation of consumers. These are just a few comparative exits or acquisitions that we would look at in our industry, including the acquisition of Vans by VF Corporation for close to $400 million back in 2004. I look forward to continuing to grow Reborn as a household name, and I believe that this trip to Dubai is just one step on the way there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Emily. And I know a little bit about the circular fashion, and I know it's very much the trend today. What are the costs involved in acquiring the
customer? Or
no, not the customer, the raw material. Thank you.
The raw material. Yes, definitely. So the material is really normally a part of an order. So brands and universities are reaching out to us with their excess already in hand, and what they're really paying for is that cost of labor or any additional materials to upcycle it. So we now have a standard product catalog, especially in the university market, 25 SKUs, and we know our cost of goods sold for each product. We're essentially plugging and chugging in the material that they send into that product and then shipping it back to them.
Mm-hmm. Do you do a lot of co-branding?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. When we work with partner brands, we really try to keep that a fluid conversation. For Sunbrella Fabrics, they're not a direct-to-consumer facing company, but they do carry a larger brand presence, and people know about them, but they don't make any end products, right? So for that, we really felt like a co-branded partnership made sense to really approach the consumer both with the Reborn name and the Sunbrella name. You can kind of call it riding on the coattails of that parent company as well. But with some brands that we work with, it's not necessarily just co-branding, it can also just be Reborn products. Because we now receive this larger influx of waste from brands like Cotton Incorporated to Hanes Brands, and again, this is being siphoned through our supply chain, just as regular Reborn products. So we're really building our name on top of that too. One thing is I never wanted us to become just another storage warehouse. So this has become more of a new thing that we now are pushing more products through our own supply chain and really watching our inventory on hand and days on hand with that. But again, we've continued to really approach these wholesale opportunities. We're talking to Whole Foods market, a global opportunity, and so we also need that material to kind of run through.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And I think as there is so many different moving parts within your business model, and a lot of them are not under your direct control. How will you be able to make sure that the same amount of quality checks and everything happens at different levels? So not at this current level, but I'm sure you're looking at expanding across the US and hopefully moving global very soon. So that how will you be able to manage that at that level? You have a very important part of your value chain not under
us, yeah. So I think a lot of brands go through this same kind of quandary of do we keep it in-house or outsource, and there's pros and cons of both, right? We definitely lost some margin by working with contract manufacturers and outsourcing, but we couldn't have scaled without doing it, right? So it was really necessary, and I think a really good change for us to go through. Over time though, with economies of scale and with more volume, I mean, the cost of labor when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of products being made versus hundreds is substantial. So we will continue to have, and our financial model accounts for that, of our profit margin increasing with scale and with volume. Sometimes brands at that point though, kind of to what you're saying, they'll then actually bring it back in-house, right? Or might even raise capital in order to have more control over it and then get even better margins, right? But there's this middle step for sure of we cannot do this volume without working with other partners. And my thing is always how much more quickly can we grow, right? So even our upcycled apparel line is actually a private label agreement right now. But we would be looking at the next couple of years. I also think there could be a play here on going more of a private equity route and having a consolidation of this market and potentially going toward an IPO. But for right now, it's how can we go quickly to market, right? And be able to offer all these services to our partners and kind of be the best at this. And then of course, you're maintaining quality throughout we have great operations roles. We have strict agreements with our vendors on if someone sends back products that are defective to us, we get a credit from our vendors, they're fixing that quickly. Those things are all being put in place and monitored.
How much of your revenue is coming from a service to, so especially in the retail model, the biggest curse is to have unsold inventory, right?
Definitely.
Which is why you have clearance sales, and even despite clearance sales, now you have this unsold inventory that needs to be disposed somehow, and there's a cost of disposing to both online and offline retailers, right? Have you been able to tap into that large institutional B2B market where you say, hey, listen, we'll take care of your problem. What does it cost you now to dispose? And they say it costs us $1 a piece. Okay, we'll dispose it for you for 70 cents a piece. Have you built that into your system yet? Because that makes you get money,
right?
And that
it solves the problem for them,
and it solves the problem for them, and also reduces the cost of your logistics of moving it from the point of sale where it is in the warehouse to where you're going to repurpose the clothes.
Yes, definitely. So that's one of our main sales pitches, right, to companies, is that at some point, if you're not even making cost on this inventory, but you can reintroduce it as a product with even higher profit margins, then it makes sense to do so, right? So that's actually like one of the main reasons I would say why companies reach out to us or larger retailers is with this excess inventory. So for example, this summer we received around 10,000 t-shirts from a retailer who had excess inventory. A lot of it was actually from a canceled tournament because of COVID-19. And so we made that into thousands of masks for them that they then sold with 60% profit margin. So I think that's a great example. The other kind of untapped or really problematic area for brands is customer returns. So this is becoming more and more a problem, definitely in the US, of customers sending back items at the end of their life, or they're defective, or they have a stain on them. And so that's something too that we're now working through for downcycling mainly, just because they can't even control really the logistics of that.
How do you make a margin on downcycling?
So it's our contract manufacturer, and then we add margin on top of that.
Got it.
Right.
So it's just more like a management fee kind of
yes,
story, right?
Yeah.
It's
so definitely,
commission.
yeah. So definitely, that's why in our model we don't have that as a higher kind of volume of our revenue. We are exploring. I don't think that people don't necessarily pay for software, but I do think having that tech component can really add kind of to your potential monthly recurring revenue fee or whatever you stand up around that. So we're looking at building a back-end portal that these companies could actually use to request shipments, track their waste, pull CSR reports on it that they can then have out-facing toward their own consumers. And so we're going through the initial discovery process of that. I think that with that model, we actually could get even more kind of this recurring revenue that has downcycling as a small component part of it. Because the actual downcycling itself, again, isn't really the value proposition. It's more that this is a headache for them, they don't know what to do with it, and so they're looking for that partner. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Want maximum savings and control over your company's travel spends? Presenting Yatra for Business, an online platform for all your company's travel needs. From valuable savings through low convenience fee and corporate fares to more control with employee booking requests and admin approvals. Yatra for Business, the most cost-efficient way to book your travel.
My name is Natalia and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Viv Air. Weaver is about making spaces healthier and more sustainable. And the reason we are doing this is before COVID crisis changed the world, nobody gave much thought about the importance of ventilation system. But the health of every single person on this planet depends on this. I spent over 10 years as an engineer with PhD in chemical and environmental engineering, developing new sensor solutions and algorithms to make our environments healthier. And what I discovered is that over 75% of the buildings have some sort of an issues. This includes contamination in the filters inside our air conditioning systems, expensive maintenance, and large amount of energy waste. And this is especially critical now for us to recover from this crisis, to be able to manage those systems well. Organizations are spending a lot of money and time to ensure those systems are working effectively, but unfortunately they still don't have sufficient data to make this work. We talked to many different organizations, both on the maintenance and operations side, and they told us the current processes are expensive, they're time-consuming, and they're unable to predict all the problems with our operations. While the existing technology on the market, like for example traditional sensor systems, are too expensive to deploy at scale, so you cannot get continuous data. And other air quality sensor solutions have a limit in being able to provide accurate information and actionable information, which is what is really needed for us to make better decisions and faster decisions. Our solution is composed of multi-sensor devices that can be attached to any ventilation system or along this inside the building or transportation system as well. They track many metrics in real time, and we combine this data with integrations with APIs and control system to be able to improve the way those buildings are run, to save cost and also generate new revenue opportunities, resulting in ROI in less than 2 years. Our software enables us to improve the air quality, make the maintenance more predictive, not instead of being reactive like it currently is, and also save operational cost. A big part of it is energy. There is many components to the way our return of investment works. This part of it is increasing revenue. So for example, in some industries like retail and hospitality, it has been really critical for them to increase the trust in the spaces, which directly translates into revenue. Improving staff wellness and managing how the productivity and health of and well-being of the employees inside the spaces. Cost savings, such as energy savings, as well as the really critical factor, which is using metrics to help with the ESG reporting, environmental and social governance, which is really critical for many organizations right now. The market opportunity for this is massive. We already have interest and pilots in several industries, including transportation, industrial, commercial, and healthcare. And even though we are initially focused on this analytics and air quality monitoring, we see our roadmap also with the integrations and also with services in the future. We already had many successful case studies, including putting the solutions in the buildings to improve air quality and reduce maintenance costs, saving organizations over $300,000 per year. And also in transportation system, in the case, this was a study with Seoul Metro where we deployed a solution inside the train system in Korea, and we're able to see improvements in air quality and also time savings for the staff. We already have great traction across many different types of the regions. We are currently operating in North America, in Toronto, Canada, as well as in Singapore and in South Korea. And are currently looking for partnerships to expand this within UAE and also in Europe. And further in US. We had many successful projects with different clients, as well as over 20 awards across 3 continents. I'm very lucky to have an excellent team to help me build this successful company. As I mentioned, my background is engineering and product development. I have built 3 companies in the past in the technology space. Julie has background in operations and finance and has worked with many corporates and doing risk assessment and making sure the projects run well. Hyun-Suk has background in government affairs and regulation, as well as computer engineering. We also have a team of engineers, advisors with successful exits and partners. Right now we are looking for funding. We're already supported by Techstars, Starburst, as well as a few different government agencies who are helping us drive this business forward. But we really need your support in order to build successful companies. What we are looking the funding for is to be able to set up our partnership ecosystem as well as the new standard that I already mentioned. We are also developing and launching a new sensor for detecting biohazards in the air, such as bacteria and virus. And we are also building and scaling our company in terms of the team and partnerships. Finally, I wanted to mention that we are also interested to run additional tests here as well, and are looking for facility managers, distribution partnerships, and support in creating this new standard. So in summary, it is critical, especially for now, right now, for us to take action in making our spaces healthier and more sustainable for the sake of all of us. So please join us to make this possible, because every breath counts. Thank you.
Who are your competitors? Can you name a few of them? And do they have the same type of product at the less expensive, as you said, cost?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much. There is many different type of companies in this ecosystem. So there is air quality technology companies, some great examples like Kythera, Yuhu, AirVisual, and others who are looking at the air quality piece of the puzzle. There is also HVAC companies, HVAC automation companies that also tracks different metrics, such as Nest, Kin, and so on. And there is also kind of property tech companies, energy efficiency, and so on. But what we see is a really missing piece of the puzzle, and this was repeated to us by many big players in the market, such as Schneider Electric, such as Siemens, who are interested in launching this air quality solution, but it's very challenging to track environment because there is so much issues in terms of data quality, such as for the sensor to work well over long periods of time, you need to ensure it's reliable, it's accurate, there is no drift. So this is an opportunity we identified, and this is what makes us different from the competitors.
Have you been approached to be bought by one of these tech companies, and is that what you're looking at one point of time? Because it would be a point of differentiation, I guess, for them.
Yes, we do get approached by a lot of different companies, and this is, we see that as potential, this is definitely an exit strategy down the road. Before that, we want to reach a certain size of the company and a certain reach, around 100 million in annual recurring revenue. At around that point, we would be looking at acquisition. But yes, that's definitely, we do find there is so many different types of companies who are interested in what Weaver has to offer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Natalia, how are you?
Great.
That was an excellent presentation. I have
thank
to
you
say.
so much.
I thought you explained everything from your product to the service to. I have one question for you. You're a distribution network dependent company, right? That's what I've understood. Essentially, partners play a big role in what you do, like whether that's then putting it in their system or then getting information out and so on and so forth. So my question to you is, are you making sure your software is adaptable and that all the standard systems, you work with them, and I think you understand my question.
Compatibility.
Yes, that's definitely something that we are heavily focused in as a company, to set up those kind of integrations, right? Because in order for us to really have a truly adaptable environments and buildings, we really need to have like a split-second, decisions that get made in response to data. So that's definitely one of our biggest challenges, because there is so many standards out there. Of course, there is a few dominant ones, but by working with those system integrators, by working with those partners, we are able to do it much more quickly. So every time we get a new customer, we get matched with their system integrator, who then help us put the system into other buildings they operate in, which is kind of a challenge, but also an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we all agree that air quality is something that people are getting much more conscious about. But I have 3 or 4 questions. I think from where I stand, I see a bit of a catch-22, a choice between the devil and the deep blue sea, where I feel that when partners are setting up new systems, they can show the quote-unquote Weave Air standard and say, look, we're this high in air quality according to WeWare, and that builds, I mean, depends on what credibility you build, that the end customer says, oh, okay, if this standard says that this is the air quality, then I'll pay extra for it. But on the reverse side, when you're looking at retrofitting, right, HVAC systems that have already been integrated by people who are now looking at the same partner, say Zulekha has built one hospital, is building another, and you know, I built or integrated their first HVAC, I want to do the same. But upon testing, I realized that my air quality is, to Majid's point, is not as high as what I'd committed to Zulekha, and therefore now I'm endangering my own business for the second project or growth expansion. Don't you see that as a serious problem in your current approach?
So that's a very wonderful question. I'm really happy you asked it, because what we're doing is we're not just, you know, kind of monitoring air quality and kind of identifying issues, but we're helping them fix them. And the way we do this is we basically have a network of partners who are providing different filtration solutions, and we do rigorous testing for those filters.
Retrofitted?
Retrofitted, yes.
That's exceptional. So you're not just a real-time data analytics company, but you're saying, is the problem, but it can be easily fixed, and this is how you can improve the air quality.
Yes, exactly, and it's customized.
Because now that creates a secondary sale for the same integrator who says, okay, I can make the air quality even better by bringing in all this retrofitted stuff, but then he can also make an additional sale to the same customer, that because HVAC is generally, you know, it's a one-time major sale, and then the rest of it is just maintenance.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's an interesting approach. I didn't think of that. Well done.
Yes, and
well
then
done.
they can kind of subscribe to this service, and then they have additional revenue.
The system
streams.
integrators themselves.
Yes.
And the companies themselves can.
Exactly.
The service providers. Okay, well done.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I'm Tina Mani. I'm the founder of YFred. Our voice commerce platform enables brands to connect to customers with intelligent conversations anywhere. So voice is everywhere. There are more than 4.2 billion devices worldwide with built-in voice assistants like Google, Alexa, and Siri. And all that a brand has to do to connect with their customers is give us a simple catalog link or an RSS feed with their content, and they can get started with a custom voice assistant in less than a week. So we have an automatic plug-in integration with Google Assistant today, and that's how we do it. So what's different about our platform? Our voice commerce platform is powered by Aura. Aura is our context-aware personalization engine, which means that as soon as the user starts interacting with the brand, it starts learning the user behavior, and within just less than 1/5 of a second, it matches the right products. So that is within the time that is required for a good voice conversation, just like talking to a real human being. So how does the customer interact with the brand? They first come to they can either say, okay Google, talk to Shopper Stop. By the way, Siri also has a plugin for Google Assistant these days. So just like Apple Maps finally wasn't that good and they had to adapt to Google Maps, there's also Google Assistant for Siri. So the other way is that if a brand starts using a voice assistant, they also start ranking in the voice searches. So nowadays already 20 to 25% of searches in the US are using voice, and interestingly, Hindi is the second largest used language on Google Assistant in the world. In this diagram you see there are just 2-3 examples. So the first one is just a simple quiz. It's a health screening quiz. The second one is a product search. And what's interesting is the last screenshot here. And here what you're seeing is that not only does our learning engine understand the user taste, but we are able to give this taste back to the brand in real time. So you can imagine that I walk into a store, I talk to a kiosk, and right while I'm talking, the customer service person knows that this is Tina's taste, and they can address me accordingly. So we're able to transition a bot conversation into a human conversation seamlessly, as intelligently as possible. But we try to come up with this market size, very difficult because as you know, this market is just exploding. So I just took a subset of retail alone. assume 2 million retail stores or display screens that can be anywhere, 25,000 enterprises and 1.5 million small and medium businesses. And it comes to a market size of 8 billion with a very reasonable cost per month per store. So with just 1.5% of that, we can reach 100 million revenue in 5 years. So what is our go-to-market strategy? There are two pieces to it. So one is that we can integrate with the existing enterprise CRMs. So we are in discussions with Microsoft to integrate with Microsoft 360. There are a lot of CMSs, there are about 350 content management systems like Shopify, BigCommerce and all that. One is to just have apps and integrations with them, and we get discovered organically on their marketplaces. The second strategy is that we partner with large enterprises that are multi-store, or we partner with large marketing agencies who are offering display screens. So we are in, right now we have partnered with a display provider in the US that covers 200 screens in all over Texas. So more about the team. My background is I did my master's in the US computer science. I worked in Nortel, and I was part of the first team in Nortel that built 3G. And it was a very small entrepreneurial setup within a large company. And I came back to India in 2005. And I launched the first 3G data network in India. So I moved from the R&D to product management to more of a customer-facing role. And yeah, that's my background. So we've been in this customer experience space since 2015 with a retargeting platform for retargeting customers using email, SMS, notifications, and stuff like that. And now we were challenged by the content company Lonely Planet to figure out what the customer wants in real time. That's when we developed our engine Aura. And then at the same time, we saw that voice space was exploding. So we decided to take the two together and combine it into this platform. And we're partnerships. So we've been with, we've got working with the Tata brands for 4 years. And we've been powering their website personalization for a long time. Now we are moving off to focus more on the voice commerce space. So we're growing fast. We've got a US partnership with the display provider, and we're looking to expand using more of partnerships with agencies at this point of time. Yeah, so we're looking for $1.25 million with $250K as a bridge, and at a very attractive valuation, 15% discount and a valuation cap of $2.5 million. And we're looking at a revenue of 5 million ARR in 24 months. That's it. So basically we are in a very large market, growing at a very, very rapid pace. We are well differentiated with our tech, and our product is both enterprise ready as well as agile. So we are able to get to the large scale, but with very quick plug and play sort of effect. And yeah, that's it. We've got, so voice commerce is a keyword that we got, and our voice app is actually called voice commerce. So if you say, hey Google, talk to voice commerce, that will be our app right now. That's what I wanted to show you.
So you talked about kind of when you enter the retail store, there is a kind of voice recognition, like a facial recognition would be, or that my misunderstanding?
No, so at this point of time, we are not looking at a facial or voice recognition just when you get into a store, because that could possibly be an invasion of privacy. What we are looking at is that there is an ad playing and there's a QR code. So I go scan the QR code and I get a link to the voice app on my own personal phone. So now I can take that interaction on my personal phone through my own mic.
Okay.
Yeah, we could have a TV-like thing which I showed you, where you use a voice mic, but that would be only in a home setting or in a corner setting where I'm comfortable with doing something like that.
So no data is involved on the personal level?
No, it's not required at all. The only reason why you would sometimes ask for data is if you want to combine my loyalty points with my in-store thing, right? So I've come to the store and you say, hey Tina, give me your number, so that then it can go fetch my other data. So in that case where the customer wants the brand to pick it up, you could combine it with an identity.
Okay.
I have one question for you. So it's not, you don't just download Wi-Fret. Wi-Fret is a service you offer to Shoppers Stop and then they,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So it's an add-on. And then how does the revenue come from that for you?
So we have a monthly subscription model based on the, initially we'll give them unlimited users because we want a lot of users and a lot of it's a new thing, right? So it's monthly subscription based on the number of stores, or it's a monthly subscription based on the number of customers that would be using it. So initially we keep the cap like something like 1 million, but then we start decreasing the cap and charging more differential type
Right.
of.
So, and your reach out is essentially retailers?
Yes, right now retailers, marketing agencies, because through a marketing agency you can reach multiple retailers together.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you see yourself expanding to, like telecom services or call-in like airlines?
Yeah, so our product itself is completely vertical agnostic because all we need is a catalog concept or a content. And it can be a catalog of services, of products, it could be anything. And because we auto learn every attribute that's associated. So one of the good things is, for example, if we are talking to a hardware store right now, and in a hardware store, one product has about like 100 attributes. In fashion, there are like different attributes. So our engine it transparently learns every attribute that's associated with the end customer. So it's but purely like agnostic.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to understand that when you decide to expand into regional markets, right?
Yeah.
Like you were talking about Hindi.
Yeah.
And especially with context to the India market, it's India is like akin to maybe Europe, where you have so many different states with so many different local languages,
Yes.
right? Not just Hindi, but in the southern states where you're from,
Yes.
there's Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada. There's so
Yes.
many different languages.
Yes.
So when you adapt to that, you piggyback on Google's innate capability to do that already.
Yes. At this point, yes.
So there's no cost center to that
No.
development.
No.
And how many languages are you in already?
So Hindi and English we've tried out, works seamlessly. Interesting thing is it even translates the catalog. For example, if I say kameez, then it will understand as shirt, and the catalog doesn't have to be changed.
Interesting.
So it will show shirt and it will be written as shirt, but I can say kameez and still get the shirt.
Interesting. And what kind of adoption are you experiencing right now with the retailers?
So there is a little bit of hesitation right now in India, especially because it's seen as a not a must-have service, but a great to have. It's like I have bigger problems to solve type of thing. So
Right.
we've gone out with a different approach now. We're just telling them that we'll run marketing campaigns for you. So for example, let's say Pongal, today's Pongal, or Independence Day. So we're running a campaign where we'll let them just do a simple marketing campaign on our dashboard, not even a catalog integration. Just send out the campaign on your social media links and see if people use like a quiz or something like that.
I think the technology is there. I think it's how the use of technology would be the challenge at this stage. Like you've highlighted, the uptake by retailers who are your main customers in this case would be the costlier part of the equation. So the question would always be, how can you take more and more of these retailers to use or to be uploaded on your platform?
Yeah.
And help, on the other hand, also an uptake of consumers. So I don't know if you have highlighted that within your business model or within your cost, and I hope that voice goes up the line. Voice is currently, even with the bigger ones like Siri and Google and others, they are still in the growth phase.
Yeah.
But at least in the case of Google, they have a little bit more cash to sustain this business a little bit longer before they decide how to move. So this is a thought for you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, so I'll just answer one of your questions. So you were asking about the uptake of consumers and brands, right? So since we are selling directly to consumers, to brands, the customer acquisition right now is not our problem because we have to make sure the experience is right, but we don't have to go acquire the end customers. The brands do it for their customers. That's one point. The second one is that one of the sort of scoring points is that when we were talking to the marketing agencies who sell especially display ads on screens, they found that there's some hesitation to pay because they don't know whether these ads it's a one-way push. They don't know how to measure it. So now when they add our QR code, they can add a measurement to this whole advertising. So that's bringing a lot of interest from the advertiser as well as the brands that are paying for the advertisements.
Oh, well, the question still lies. And today for you, when you put a code, I have to, as a customer, I have to scan it so that the agency takes this information.
Yes.
Now, me doing that action, this additional click, is the challenge that a lot of people are doing.
Yes.
So now, most of what we are doing in marketing is a single click purchase, a single click approach, so that you don't give him a chance to change his mind after he does that click.
Yeah.
So so adding an additional layer on top of the technology is the challenge. So the question will be always, how can you remove that additional layer? How can you remove that me scanning and then me entering into this details?
Yeah, so there are multiple ways. So one is that you're exposed to the ad in the store and you click. If you do click, like you said, that's a barrier. One is that when you receive a marketing campaign and interesting enough, then you click on the link and do the campaign. So you're using voice. The third is that once this becomes mainstream, people already know that the brand will have a voice assistant. So I can just say, hey, Google, talk to Shopper Stop, because it becomes so mainstream. So that's the later stage where people would assume already that there is a voice assistant. But we sort of want to be at the cutting edge because this is a great time for us to be in. We've seen some of the companies, like there's a company called Dynamic Yield, got bought by McDonald's for $500 million last year. So we were tracking dynamic yield because they were doing personalization also in real time like we do. So we figured this is a great time to get into the market early.
Interesting. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
सो ये थे हमारे आज के अमेजिंग कंटेस्टेंट्स और उनके आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स इनोवेटिव स्टार्टअप आइडियाज। फिर मिलेंगे अपने नेक्स्ट सीजन में, तब तक के लिए कीप ड्रीमिंग, कीप चेजिंग। We'll be back with our next season soon. If you think your idea have the ability to impress our horses, this table is for you. Keep chasing your dreams.